Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Padmasambhava Meditation Center. So my name is Jim, and I thought it might be helpful to give a little introduction for Brendan for people that may not know his history. So I hope I get this right, because he told me this last May when he came last time. But Brendan, for those of you that don't know him, so Brendan is a senior student in our center, and one of the, I guess, the biggest, how do you say, authenticity that I've seen for Brendan is Choje Rinpoche says, whatever Brendan wants to teach, he can teach. I don't need to approve it. Whatever Brendan wants to teach, he can teach. And so Brendan started, he was a war orphan in South Korea after the Korean War. And so didn't have a mom and dad, and he was literally living on the streets. And so, smart kid that he was, he figured out that if he made friends with the American soldiers that were on the base nearby, that they would feed him. And so he grew up begging from the American soldiers, playing games on them, and a couple of the soldiers took him in. And so one of the soldiers, when he came back to America, asked his parents if they would adopt him. And so Brendan was adopted. I don't remember how old he was, 12 or 13 years old. And so he came to America and lived with that family for a few years. And since he was essentially had to be an adult from the age of 3 or 4 years old, he only lived for a few years with his parents here in America and then set out and decided he wanted to be a ski racer. And so he spent most of his teenage and early 20 years being a ski racer. And loved speed, he was competitive at the highest level of ski racing. And one day he said, this isn't going to bring me the happiness that I want. I'm going to go to India. And so he left all of his equipment, thousands of dollars of equipment. And he just told me this trip that it was sitting in a barn. He doesn't even know what happened to it. He just left it and went to India. And he met a lama that was a Gelugpa Lama. And so there's 4 main schools of Tibetan Buddhism, and he met one that was from the Gelugpa order. And he studied with him for a few years, and then that Lama passed away. And so Brendan said, well, my Lama just passed away. I want to continue to receive teachings. Who's the highest Lama in the Gelugpa order? His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So Brendan went to Dharamsala and requested teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and at that point in time, the Dalai Lama saw something in him and invited him in and gave him personal instructions on meditation. And so His Holiness taught him for a few years, and then Brendan got to a point in his progression where His Holiness decided that he needed Dzogchen instructions. And one of the highest Dzogchen meditate instructors still to this day is Sokse Rinpoche. And Sokse Rinpoche Choje Rinpoche manages the center, and Sokse Rinpoche is Choje Rinpoche's teacher. So Brendan was sent to Sokse Rinpoche to receive Dzogchen instructions. And so once he received all those instructions, he studied with a few other great lamas like Chachel Rinpoche, who passed away last year, but was one of the other highest Dzogchen masters. And then once Brendan got all that instruction, he went to live in the desert. And Rinpoche always tells Genevieve and I, as kind of a push for what we need to be doing, he always says, Brendan just went into the desert and meditated for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. He would work for 6 months doing landscaping, and then he would spend 6 months doing 10, 12 hours of meditation a day. And it's clear that his insight and experience is quite high, just from his teachings, and again from the confidence that Choje Rinpoche has given him to come and teach us. So that's a short introduction from what Brendan has told me, and I know there's a lot of other wild tales out there, but I want to thank you, Brendan, for coming back and teaching us, and let's all enjoy the weekend.
Welcome. So we chant twice in Tibetan and we'll recite once in English. I don't know if the tune that I do is same as yours, but we'll find out. Hum organ yugi nu jam sam pe margesor dang pula yang sen chuki nu junye pe ma junye shesu kordu kanjo ma pokor keki jesu da gyugi jingi lapji she susu guru pema siri orgen yugi nu jam sam pe margesor dang pula yang sen chuki nu junye pe ma junye she sujo kordu kanjo ma pokur keki jesu da gyugi jingi lapji she susu guru pema siri at the North Oregon's northwestern frontier, on a stem and a corona of a lotus flower, wondrous supreme accomplishment attained, as the lotus-born renowned, encircled by a retinue of many dakinis, so that I may become like you. Please come and grant your blessing. Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. We're here because we know that we can be much more than what we perceive ourselves to be now. And also want you to know what we're trying to access, what we're trying to accomplish, are not separate from what or who we are right now. In a way, if it was totally separate, it wouldn't be possible for us to accomplish our true nature, our innate great perfection. So we already have that. That's why we're trying to become who we really are, because we're not who we really are because of our ignorance, conditioning, and delusion. So what we're trying to become is not totally separate than what we really are, already are. So take a deep breath. Breathe in very deeply. Hold it. Then totally expel. Now just let the mind self-settle. Just relax into the present moment. Simply sitting, simply relaxing. See if we can just simply let ourselves be. Where you don't have to be anything. You don't have to really do anything other than just simply sit. Just sitting is automatically being. Instead of trying to relax, just simply allow yourself to relax. So some of you, this may be too simple, too foreign. You may not be used to it. And you need something more. That's fine. If you need something more, just simply rest in the present experience. Or just simply rest in the present. So those of you who are new, don't worry about whether you're doing it right or not. Just do it the best you can. You don't really need to understand clearly what you have to do. You can just intuitively understand and just do the best you can. And that's sufficient. Just simply resting in the present. Resting in the now. Now is the intuitive experience of present. It doesn't have to be clearly known or clearly understood. Just a sense of being, the sense of nowness. Remember, we're always present. You just have to be present to the present or now. Everything is always now. There's no other. Anything other than now is a fabrication. It doesn't really exist. Only thing that really exists is this right now. Now what you can't focus or you can't grab onto. But we are that. There's no doubt, right? We're now, right now. Just be that. This open, amorphous nowness. Which can't be defined as anything. But we are that. We experience that. There's no doubt. You don't have to know or define the now to be now or present. All you have to do is just allow yourself to be that. Just by not being lost in anything, but just simply allowing yourself to be. All right, take a break for a moment. Just relax. Don't become distracted. When we stop meditation, one of the things is we don't want to immediately get distracted to something. Okay? When we stop meditating, allow yourself just to experience that period of calmness, period of absence, the period of non-doing, when you drop the effort of trying to meditate. When you just stop meditating, when I say just relax, just drop everything and see what that's like. Instead of going there from something immediately, just allow yourself to be without anything. We're still aware, but we're not distracted to anything. When we just simply drop the meditation and just be. This is what we have to become more familiar. Not always going from one thing to another endlessly. That's what is meant by the unending wheel of samsara. So when we can drop, we can start to stop the circle, slow the circle down. So we're going to do more of a formal meditation, because those of you who are not familiar may not have been so comfortable doing the first meditation where you didn't have something really definite to work with, or you didn't have anything where you could sink your teeth in. So we're going to do the meditation where we have something to work with. I don't usually wear glasses. I was going, well, what's that? I wanted to wear glasses because I wanted to see everybody. So, one of the objects of meditation we can use is the mind itself. Okay? We all know what the mind is, right? We use the word mind, we communicate the word with mind, right? So, all of us know what the mind is? So, when I say, just let the mind observe the mind, or just let the mind be the mind. So are you clear what that means? So you're welcome to tell me. So the way I teach, the way I share things with you, is that most of the time, teacher speaks, and after the end of the session, there's a Q&A. I like to have exchange and immediate feedback, see how you're doing. And you may also like to have immediate feedback so you can make immediate adjustments if you need to.
Where is it? So if we are to say, like, is it in my brain? Is it somewhere in my body? Is it in my heart?
What's going on?
Where is it? I mean, what is it?
I can't hear.
Oh, sorry.
Hold it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that it's a very difficult question. So what is the mind? When we think that we know what it is, because we do use the word all the time.
Right.
In just everyday conversation.
Right.
But when we stop to take a look, where is this mind? What are the qualities of this mind?
Yeah, what is this mind?
What is it exactly?
Yeah.
It's totally like, it seems to
But
just
we do
vanish.
have a intuitive idea or feeling of what the mind is, right? All right, let me help you. Mind is nothing other than this sense, feeling of experiencing. There's no other mind than that, okay? This sense of being, awareness, being awake, that's mind. Understand that? There's no other mind. So you take this sense of being, sense of experiencing, this experiencing, and you let that watch. Let the experiencing watch the experiencing. Mind also is none other than attention. Just attention. When I pay attention, it's the mind that's paying attention. When we focus on the object of attention, then the mind is totally forgotten. Mind is lost in the object of attention. The mind itself is the attention. So again, when I say let the mind, just simply watch the mind. You let the attention, just simply watch the attention. Even though attention is not anything definite, we experience the attention. That which you can experience, you let that watch the attention. You understand what I'm saying? Is it clear? Do you know what to do when I say just simply let the mind watch the mind? Okay. Those of you who are not, please speak up. I may be able to help. I may not. But you're on the right track with the mind. So you've obviously done some investigation, you know. Good. So we'll do the meditation. And I will, as we go, I will clarify more what is mind and how we can use mind. But you have enough to work with, so we can meditate just by simply letting the mind watch the mind. Okay? That's all you have to do. We're not trying to be in a far out state or anything. This mind which we're experiencing, just simply let that watch itself. Let the experiencing watch the experiencing. Let the attention watch the attention. Or also, you can also let the watcher watch the watcher. Watcher is none other than the mind. We get confused when the watcher is lost in it, what it's watching. Then they become separate. So you can also do it that way. Just simply let the watcher watch the watcher. Let the experiencer watch the experiencer. Let the mind watch the mind. No different.
Brendan, over here, back here. There's a question from the live stream.
Okay.
Is attention what is also called awareness? Because it seems like attention
Yes, it is.
something more focused or
it's
sharp
called,
than awareness.
It's called gross awareness, perceptible awareness. You have to distinguish between pure awareness and impure awareness. Perceptible awareness and imperceptible awareness. I was going to get into more of that after we did the meditation, but that's a good question. So I hope that explains a little bit, but I'm going to go into it more. Okay? So we know what to do, right? If you don't know what to do, speak up. I don't want you to just sit there wasting time, Of course, you didn't have to pay tonight, so you won't be wasting money.
So, is there a mind without thought?
Oh, yes. Mind without thought would be the empty mind.
And we can watch without thinking?
Of course. You're watching before you're thinking. Thinking comes afterwards, you're watching. When we first watch, no thinking. Then the thinking comes when you say, oh, that's black. Ah, that's rectangular. That's thinking, okay? But we can just watch without focusing or without thinking. Right? Okay.
Thanks.
So what we're doing here, mind just watching the mind, we're doing the minimal amount of thinking. Very subtle. Just a subtle effort. Find the mind, where you can experience the mind, and you just watch that. When we do this practice, we're not trying to, at this stage, we're not trying to find, look at the mind is watching the mind. We're not going to start making comments. The mind's not feeling very well, and, mind doesn't seem very awake. No, we just want to simply watch the mind without any comment right now. Okay?
I'll try to ask this question. I don't know. When I'm trying to do this practice, what I experience is something which is trying to be immersed in direct experience, but seems to just keep stepping out and opposing the
Right.
experience.
That may be when you didn't have an object. Now we have something to work with. Okay? So try this meditation. You have something to work with. Okay? You have a direction. You just do that. When I said in the beginning, just simply be, just sit, just simply be present, that's very amorphous. There's very little to work with. So that may have to happen more. But here, we got a little bit more to work with. Okay? So try this. So let's do the meditation. That's all you have to do. Just simply let the mind watch the mind. Mind is just simply watching the mind without saying anything about the mind, but just simply watching the mind. The mind which you can experience is just simply watching itself. just simply relaxed. We're just letting the mind watch the mind. What you experience as mind, you're just simply watching the mind. So you can also do this practice by just simply letting the mind be the mind. Just let the mind be the mind without being anything else other than simply the mind. So mind just simply watching mind is not any different than mind just being mind. So how is that? So are you experiencing what I'm trying to say?
Something that was happening for me is that I think I was getting confused with sense impressions, like I was aware of seeing myself seeing, or being aware of hearing, or being aware of how my body felt.
Right,
But I didn't feel like I got beyond that.
right.
I felt like I was stuck with that.
Yeah, you're feeling what the mind is experiencing instead of just experiencing the mind. You're experiencing the object of the mind, what the mind was feeling, what I told you. Just find the mind that you can experience. Just let that mind watch the mind, not what the mind is feeling. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't know, because I think, okay, I would hear something and then I would say, well, Brendan told us to watch our mind. So I tried to watch my mind hearing.
See, that means you're not really clear what
That
you're
is
supposed to
true.
do.
That is true. That is
Otherwise,
true.
you would you know what the mind is to extent where you can practice, and you simply let the mind watch the mind. Since you're not doing that, whatever comes up, you're distracted to that. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So something comes up, you automatically go towards that. So I asked you, does it make sense? Do you understand when I say mind is just experiencing? What does mind mean to you? Tell me.
When you began the teaching and you asked if everybody understood what the mind is, or what you mean by mind,
Yep.
I almost got the microphone, and my answer would have been perhaps no. Because I guess sometimes I feel like I see it or know it. Certainly distinguish mind from thoughts or mind from phenomena.
Yep.
That is something, but to just try to look at the mind, especially as it becomes calm and there aren't thoughts, then I'm not able to do it, or I'm not doing it. Except
When you're aware right now, right?
Well, I kept actually thinking that, like I am aware, but that's when I got into the senses. What am I aware of?
No, I said, are you aware right now?
Brendan, I'm so sorry, but
No.
I can't-
Answer me.
I'm going to say I am aware, but I only know that
Don't
because
say,
you're talking to me.
I don't want to hear but.
Okay.
Just tell me. Are you aware?
Yes.
Okay, that's the mind. Stop the but. Just, I asked you if you're aware, and you said yes. That awareness is the mind. But you can't accept that. You immediately try to make it something else. We're aware, that's mine. We don't have to define it. We're aware. There's no doubt. See, it's so simple, so close. We're so conditioned, habituated. That's why it's not easy. You understand what I'm saying? Does it make sense to you? And you know, that's, I don't know. Personally, I don't know what else to do, you know. You know? But that is the mind. What I'm trying to tell you, you're experiencing the mind, you are the mind. Our practice is to start to see what this mind is. But in order to begin to see it, we need to slow the thing down. We need not to be lost in all the object that mind goes out towards. That's why we're confused. We're lost in the object of the mind. And you know, it depends on your karma. Sometimes, you know, you may not be ready. How else can I show you what the mind is? I just told you. You're aware. There's no doubt that you're aware. That is mind. That awareness doesn't have to be anything else to be mine. You don't have to be aware that you're aware for it to be mine. In fact, you don't have to be aware that you're aware to be aware. You're aware before that. But we're never there. We're always aware of something. We're never aware before we're aware of something.
That was helpful.
Just relax. Stay with it. And get whatever you can. And please don't get, I should be, and just relax, okay? As I said in the beginning, just be able to sit simply, just relaxed. Allow yourself. That's the secret. We want to be something. We think we have to do something. The true relaxation is when you're not doing anything. You don't end up being anything. It's free. No pressure. Even for an instant is sufficient. It doesn't have to be long. So, everybody else knows when we're doing the practice, do you feel that automatically the mind is becoming quieter? Automatically it's not being distracted to other things when we just simply let the mind watch the mind automatically. the mind is start to becoming mine. Instead of being distracted to other things that are not mine. In a way, you see, this is a contradiction. In a way, everything is mine. There can't be anything without mine in terms of you perceiving. Even though conceptually you can say, oh yeah, I mean, I don't have to see that chair for that chair to exist. But you don't know that experientially. That's just a concept. That doesn't count. Maybe in school it does. Here it doesn't count. This is what I'm trying to do, is get you to experience. Very simple way how to start to slow the mind down so it can start to be itself. So it can start to experience itself, see itself. Why? Because the mind itself is the innate great perfection. Absolutely perfect. Mind itself holds everything that we could ever wish for. That's the value of trying to realize the nature of mind. It's not just a mental calisthenics. In fact, most of you here meditate, right? One way or another, you do some kind of meditation, right? That's what we're trying to do. We meditate because meditation feels good. But what meditates? It's the mind, right? When the mind meditates, it stops the distraction, it starts to slow down. It starts to be able to experience itself. So any other questions about doing this practice?
Yeah, I had a question just comparing the two approaches.
Comparing it to what?
The two approaches. So first just
Process?
approaches. The two
Purpose.
techniques.
Purpose?
Two techniques that you've given us. The two techniques.
Yeah.
So it seems like in the second one, in the one we just did, that like when you ask us to watch the thinker and the thought, right?
No.
No.
I said,
No, but
let the thinker watch the thinker. I didn't say thoughts.
Okay, so watch the thinker. We're more comfortable with that separation, but when we have the mind watch the mind, in fact, if nothing comes up, then you lose that duality, and all of a sudden you're already it. So there's nothing to watch.
Okay. But what is the thinker when the thinker doesn't have an object?
It's nothing.
It's mine.
Right.
It's not nothing.
But it doesn't even arise, right?
What do you mean?
In other words, so if the thinker needs an object to
keep
it's
on
not-
thinking.
It's not separate
It-
from
it-
the object.
It needs an object. It needs the thought to keep on thinking.
Right.
It
But-
needs.
But when you say
But I'm
watch
talking
the
about the
mind,
thinker without a thought, thinker without an object.
then it's just mind. It's just
Exactly,
awareness.
that's what I'm trying to get
Right.
to.
So in that second approach, it's almost like, because it's presented as dualistic, it gives you almost an opening to see that there's no separation.
But we need to start dualistically. We need something to work with. Most people can't here just go non-dualistically immediately. Come on. That's what I did in the beginning when I just said, simply be. As profound as that is, it's not so easy to do.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm clear. Thanks.
See, I started from the top. I started from the non-dual. So if you got it there, then you don't need to do the other. You don't need to do the second one later. But if you didn't, then doing this will help you to get there. Yeah. Just be. But we can't be that very long. Even if you can be that, just be for a short period of time, that's it. There's nothing else. When we're just being, simply being, we're not fabricating, we're not making anything up. It's just being what it is. Nature of mind is exactly what it is. What it is not anything, but it still is. But there's no doubt, this isness, we intuitively can experience this what it is, what is. Even though we can't define it, we intuitively experience that. We have to experience it in a way that it is not anything, the way we normally experience things. We most of the time experience things as something. We hardly ever experience things as not anything and still experience that. But just doing this simple practice, mind, just simply watching the mind, just simply being the mind, automatically purifies the mind without you even knowing it. That's the benefit of this practice. That's the purpose of this practice. I mean, just do the practice. When the mind can just simply watch the mind, it automatically becomes quieter. You will automatically begin to feel the natural peace of the mind. So any more questions on this practice we're doing? So everybody's getting it? Getting some experience? Good. So we need to keep on doing. That's the thing about meditation. Only way you will accomplish is you have to keep on doing it. There's no other way. There are exceptions, but most of us are not exceptions, okay? Just simply, you know what to do, just simply do that as long as you can. All right, let's keep on doing the meditation. Simply let the mind watch the mind. Or let the mind just simply be the mind. So naturally, the mind is so habituated as being something, that's what you're going to have to try to prevent the mind from being something. So you have to apply a little effort and just let the mind watch the mind, not the object of the mind. Not something what the mind is experiencing. Very simple practice. There's no complicated visualization. Not a lot of things to remember. Just remember the mind and let the mind just simply watch the mind. Just simply let the mind watch the mind without making anything of it other than just simply watching. So the mind, just watching the mind without focusing on the mind. In the beginning, if you need to focus a little bit, that's okay. But once the mind can just be the mind, you don't need to focus. Mind does not need to focus on the mind. Then the mind becomes the object of the mind. We're defeating our purpose. We just want to simply be the mind. The mind does not want to be lost in its object. So any questions?
So are experience and awareness the same when there's no object?
You experience
No. Is
unawareness or awareness?
is experience and awareness, is experience and awareness the same when there is no object? Is experience and awareness the same when there is no object?
Yeah, so what about it?
Is it the same when there's no object? Because when there's an object, it's not the same because the experience.
Well, one way it's the same, in another way it's not, of course.
So when there's no object, is it the same?
It's the same because the awareness is present in both cases. Okay? In another way, the awareness is lost when the awareness is lost in the object, focused on the object. Right? So when the awareness has no object, it's aware, it's not lost in the object. But when the awareness has an object, it's still aware, but you don't have any awareness. You're totally lost. You're focusing on the object. There's no awareness. Not even the relative, perceptible awareness. Okay? What is your question? What are you trying to get at?
I'm trying to get at the distinction between experiencing and being aware. So I'm asking, is experiencing the same as being aware when there's no object?
Experiencing is none other than awareness. Especially when it doesn't have an object. What's the difference between awareness and just simply experiencing? You tell me. What is the difference? Other than the conceptual habits where we perceive things. But when we really look at just experiencing and just being aware, what's the difference? No difference. Very good point. That's what I was going to get at later on. Point out that there's no difference. And also, this is going to be maybe a little bit of a surprise. What's the difference between I, this I, just being the I not lost in any object. I am not this or that, I am not anything. But I am. I is just it. I. What's the difference between that and just awareness? So we all have this negative connotation of the I, right? And we associate the I with the ego. But I is not the problem. See that? I lost in the object is the problem. That's how the I clings. When the I clings, it has to have an object. Can't cling without an object. Also, the I cannot exist without an object. You take the object away from the I, there's no reason for its existence. So it automatically disappears. The only reason why I exists, because we don't look at it. As soon as we look for the I, it's gone before you can see that it's gone. That's the way it is. That's how it deceives us. We simply don't look at the I. That's why it exists. And I is no different than this sense of self. This sense of self, the sense of existence, that's the thing that separates me from you. Seeing you is different than me. Seeing this is solid and separate. That's why Anam Thupten, one of the Dzogchen teachers, he has a book called No Self, No Problem. That's one of the main things we try to do in Buddhist practice. We try to see that there's really no self. Self is totally empty. It's just the mental fabrication. It also is a karmic predisposition. Subtle and gross. Perceptible and imperceptible. So if you want to do this practice, you can just hold the I and prevent the I from going out towards any object. It's no different than just simply mind just watching the mind, or mind just being the mind, or I just being the I, without being anything. So I hope this makes sense, because when you start using different language, because we all have we're so used to certain things, and when it's different, we have a tendency to get confused. Okay? Any questions about the eye or the mind? So I'm assuming if there's no questions, everything is pretty clear and you're getting the experience.
It's on. Hello? Thank you, Brendan. It's almost what my mind keeps on seeing or feeling is like the Heart Sutra, where its form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Is this somewhat of what you're talking about as well?
Well, not at this stage, but we're going to get there.
Okay,
This will allow us to get there.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So one of the things, those of you who are going to come back, I'm going to give you a homework. Maybe you're not going to come back if I give you the homework. So anyway, I think it would be helpful for you to just really look at and ask yourself, how can this be? I mean, I know what this mind is. I mean, I experience it. I know what this awareness is because I'm aware. There's no question, is there? Or I am the mind. I experience the mind. But when we try to really find out what it is, what is it? I want you to, through your own experience, you don't need to read something and try to bring me the answer. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in how you can access. What does that mean to you? And also, tonight, we didn't get a lot of knowledge. We're just working on one thing, the mind. So my interest is, not imparting a lot of things, but what little I'm trying to impart to start to get the experience. Instead of knowing this, knowing that, knowing a lot of things. Just want you to start getting the experience of what you know. The essential things, what you know, want you to start to get the experience. I think that's much more important. I'm not saying you shouldn't read or study, find out about different things. But here, what I'm really interested in is trying to get you to actually experience what you're understanding, not just simply understanding and just leaving it at that. You know what I mean by that? Just understanding is different than actually when you start to experience. And you see the difference? when you start to experience the mind, by mind you're simply watching the mind, letting the mind just simply be the mind. And then when you started out, before we started out doing that, your understanding of mind, and once we started to do the practice and started to get some experience. You see the difference? Okay. Deborah, you had a question, or anybody had a question? Yeah. So we'll end here. Dedication prayer. In the world in general, the world in general and this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering hold on. All right, does everybody? In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names of disease, famine, war, suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, prosperity greatly increase. May continuous good fortune, sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the name disease, famine, war, suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, prosperity greatly increase. May continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the name of disease, famine, war, suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, prosperity greatly increase. May continuous good fortune, sublime well-being perfectly arise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, and thus defeat the neurosis, negative action, which are the enemies. From the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. So we'll start tomorrow at 6:30. So we'll go from 6:30 until 8 on Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday are 10 until noon, and then 2 until 4. Thank you, Brendan.